Good evening, YouTube. Figured I'd make a video about nothing new, something I've had for a while here, but I don't believe I've ever made a video on this here radio before, so here's one now. This is a 1928 Philco Model 511. Philco made a number of radios. This was actually the first year that Philco made radios, but they had a number of different models. There were, I think, 3 or 4 tabletops, which was this radio but with a different paint scheme. And there were a couple of consoles. I believe there were 2 or 3 consoles. And they also sold a wooden speaker table. Or you could get that speaker, which is the Model 211. There were matching speakers for some of the other tabletops with their different paint schemes. This would have had a grill cloth originally, but it's missing, as you can tell. Unfortunately, this speaker is also no good. The driver has an open voice coil, so eventually I will either have it replaced or I will just put a modern speaker in here and some grill cloth to hide it. I think someone's had this apart before and put it back together wrong. So if you notice, there's a hole there for the speaker wiring. I don't believe that should come out the front, or at least it doesn't seem to make any sense to me that it would. At the moment I've got it hooked up to this guy, which is a Stewart Warner speaker, but it does work. Brown on brown. Does anybody else think that this kind of looks a bit like copper tone? You know, consider that was a thing in the 60s and 70s, and here you have it in the late 1920s. A proof that everything new is really just old. It's not in bad shape. It's got, you know, scratches, but if you look where the scratches are, here, a whole bunch here, and there's a few right here, I believe they just about exactly match the footprint of this, where the rubber feet are. So this speaker did not come with this particular radio. I bought them separately. However, I suspect that someone had the speaker sitting on top of the radio, and it kind of got damaged. But it's pretty simple. Volume, tuning. This is kind of an antenna loading control, and you can turn it all the way over for very close by stations. Tuning, you probably can't see that, but it's just your typical 0 to 100 scale. Let's take a quick look inside of this beast. It's just a lift-off lid. There's no screws, because you used to have to work on stuff, and there were no UL warnings back then. Don't be silly. So, as you can see, it is a 7-tube set. Rectifier, these are 26s. This is a 27. This is actually an original Philco tube. I believe this is another 26, and this is a 71A, or I've got that reversed. But RF amplifier, RF amplifier, RF amplifier, detector. One of these is first audio, the other is audio output. I just don't recall which is which. This is also an original Philco tube. It has the engraved base. The curious thing about this radio, and it probably will not focus, but this says Model 531, which is one of the consoles. So I don't know if the insides of this radio are not original to this cabinet, or perhaps this plate was replaced with one out of a cabinet model, or maybe just the factory messed up and decided that, you know, hey, we're short on tabletops, let's just take this chassis and stick it in a tabletop case and, you know, whatever. I don't know, but that probably also won't focus. But Philadelphia Storage Battery Company, it's got your patent list on there. Philco radio, Model 531, made in USA by Philadelphia Storage Battery Company, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It does work. This is a totally unrestored radio. Absolutely nothing has been done to it other than some of the tubes have been replaced. It's even got the original power cord. That's a piece of string. It's not wires hanging out. The power cord's still in pretty good shape. The speaker is actually also original with its original cord. I think I picked this up for $5 or $10 or something. Pretty cheap, but nobody seemed to want it, and I figured it would be useful as a speaker. But anyway, let's see what we can get on this thing. Not sure what station we're on here. Yeah, Frank. That'll work. don't know if it's obvious here, but and that's the local switch in case you have a very, very nearby station. If you turn the volume all the way up, you get it. This is not so much a volume control as it's an antenna level control. The audio amplifier in these is run pretty much at full crank all the time, and this is just a rheostat across the antenna wire. So basically it puts more or less signal into the RF amplifier first tube over here from your antenna to control volume. So a lot of the early triode sets did that. Later on they went to an actual volume control, and they did some other things before they settled on that, but that's what you had on these guys. But anyway, thank you for watching. Any comments, please feel free to leave them. If anybody has any idea why this might have a Model 531 serial plate instead of the 511, which is what this cabinet says it should be, I'd be interested to hear theories, because that's sort of always been a mystery. Anyway, have a good one, guys.